Hello, everyone. Sorry for keeping you for a few minutes. I cut it to the minute, but also then YouTube is updating their live studio. So it took a minute to figure out what's going on because it was all different. So here we are. Welcome, everyone. There's a live chat. And if you are on your phone, there is a button in one of those like save, download, etc. buttons kind of right under the video that says chat or live chat or something like that. That will open it up. You do have to have a YouTube account to log in to ask questions. However, that is just a Google account. So not a big deal to sign in, or if privacy is something you want to be careful about, you could use make a new Google account just to have a password. Yes, I see. Ellen, testing the chat feature. See your comment. So I will put resources if it's easy. I'll put resources in here or spell something that's weird. But otherwise, after the video is over, this is going to post live or post to be on our channel. And then I can put in the comments below some different resources that we may end up discussing here. So you will not interrupt my flow if you ask questions. I prefer to ask questions and have them answered when I'm thinking about it, when it makes sense. So go ahead and do that. And I will do my best to see them and pop them in as I'm talking. I'm sorry it's hard to look at the camera all the time. So I'm sorry if I look down and watch myself sometimes. I'll try my best to look at the camera. So we are doing allergies. And I want to clarify what this is, and it's in the title. It's managing allergies. So before we get started fully into the management of the allergy part, which is definitely coming, that is, you have allergies today. What can you do today to help those allergies? As opposed to what a lot of what I talk about, which is healing your gut and why you have allergies. So we're going to talk about that first, and then we're going to get to the management of allergies. What can you do? What are some different symptoms? I also highly encourage you to go and watch the YouTube live that I did last week on the immune system, because this is building off of that. It's going to help understand, because a lot of the symptoms that the immune system does, like swelling, fluid, itchy, why are those? And we'll review those, but I talked about that for about an hour last week. So I highly recommend going and studying that part, because that you can be here, but you'll be able to go deeper. We'll review it. You can still stay. Don't leave. But you can go deeper into the immune system by checking out the other video. And then there's a deeper one even about autoimmune disease. So those are great ones, because the immune system is one big thing. So let's go ahead and talk about that. What is the immune system and what is it doing? Let's introduce what the immune system is doing with allergies. Number one, allergies of any kind, any reaction to the world around us, those allergies are the body responding to something as a threat, whether it is or isn't a threat. So you can eat eggs, you can eat eggs, you can eat eggs, and this person's throat closes when they eat eggs. Like, why is that? So not all of the immune system is, I don't want to say logical. There are logical reasons, which we're going to talk about, but it's not usually due to the substance outside. It's due to the inside, what our body is set up for. Caveat to that, there are poisons. Poisons our body should react to. There's a lot of poisoning that happens in our world. We have poisons in our food, chemicals. We have poisons in our water. We have medications. Even if medications have some beneficial effect, which many do, and they do save lives. I'm not against medications in certain cases, but when you as a consumer get medications through the water because other people are flushing their pills or peeing in their toilets, and that water gets filtered and those medication effects don't fully get removed, that affects you. And to you, it's definitely a poison. To them, it's a poison, but helpful, like help and a poison. But so we have a lot of different poisons that come at us in the air, water, ground that are actual chemicals. So you will notice a similarity in chemical poisoning, like actual bad things, versus something your body's responding to, but other people don't, like eggs, right? So that is because the immune system has a major way to deal with threats initially, and that is called the inflammatory arm of the immune system. Inflammatory arm, humoral arm. Humoral arm is the remembering. I had chickenpox. I had, whatever, X disease here. So your body, when it's exposed to it, remembers it, doesn't get it again. Then we have your inflammatory arm, and this deals with everything else. It's the first line of defense for anything, and it causes mucus production. So allergies today, a lot of people had some because it started warming up again. It's been a bad kind of couple allergy week for a lot of people who have spring allergies. Well, what is that? That's just pollen in the air. So what do all of us get if we're exposed to a lot of dust or pollen? You get mucus production, right? If you're in a dusty room or you're cleaning out a chicken coop or something like that, you're going to get exposure to dust particles. Your body notices that. Those dust particles are helpful or not, but they're irritants, and they are trapped in mucus. So your body produces a lot of mucus to trap them, and then the ciliary action of our sinuses and lungs and all of that pull those dust particles trapped in the mucus out and expel them from the body. It's a defense system for our body. Okay, so let's say there's a lot of pollen in the air, and we stick our nose in pollen, and what do? Sneeze, whether or not you have allergies, right? There's an irritant, we sneeze. Well, what if you are just going about your day and you have some hypersensitivity to the pollen in the world, and you breathe in, or you're just sleeping and you breathe in? We have more mucus production. So the body is producing mucus in a response to what it perceives as a threat, or is a threat, right? It doesn't matter. It is perceived like eggs, but they're actually okay, or it is a threat like chlorine, chlorine in the pool room. You can't breathe that in if you're doing pool care as a lifeguard. I was that. It was a very careful, special task to make sure you didn't burn your lungs, right? So we want to make sure that we are not exposing ourselves to those toxic chemicals, but we may have things in the world that we react to. So my thought about going through the immune system is why is it reacting the way it is? Because often we can just blame our bodies. Our bodies hate us, it's fighting against us. Why won't it just let me be happy? And I want to explain why the immune system is doing what it's doing. Okay, so mucus production, we've explained that. Something threat, trap in mucus, ciliary action, remove from our bodies. Perfect. Okay. Number 2, what's another thing? Sneezing. I guess that kind of goes along with the same thing, or you guys have already figured it out. Sneezing is a volatile expelling with air pressure to push something out that was trying to come in. Great. Sneezing. We get rid of stuff, clear our nose. Coughing, same thing. Think about if you accidentally swallow some water down the wrong pipe. You're going to cough it out, right? These are ways, volatile air pressure, ways to remove things from our bodies that shouldn't be getting in or would be irritating to our bodies if they were allowed to get in, or potentially dangerous. Okay, so that level of allergies makes sense, right? That's not an allergy. We don't call that an allergy. That's just a response to the environment. Now let's go to the allergy level that we started talking about, which would be the hay fever type thing. I have spring allergies. They are significantly better from doing GAPS, but they still crop up, especially when I don't do some of the management stuff I'm going to talk about at the end. How and why do we get in the place of reacting to things or overreacting to things we don't need to react to? So this is where I want to talk a little bit about GAPS, but first about the structure of our bodies. So first line of defense is mucus. Second line of defense is our epithelial cell linings. So that's going to be our skin barrier. It's going to be our mucous membranes that line our nose, mouth, throat, lungs. Those are the primary defense mechanisms or the secondary, still in the primary category, but number 2 of keeping stuff out. Our normal epithelial cell layers should be in very tight junction with each other, right? So no holes. It's hard to do with my fingers because I don't do that, but no holes. This is maintained by a few things. We need vitamin C. We need collagen. We need amino acids and a lot of cholesterol, actually, especially in our lungs, to maintain these tight junctions. There is a glue of sort between the different cells that can get eaten away. And all of the system is maintained by your good microbes. Microbes live along the linings of all epithelial cells, which include also blood-brain barrier in our blood vessels all over our body. Those are epithelial cells, any kind of membrane, right? Our gut, from nose or from mouth all the way to the end, and then our skin. All epithelial cells, and they're all maintained by good microbes on our border that maintain healthy cells, healthy cell junctions, make sure the reproduction of new cells is happening properly, and they also communicate with our immune system, especially in the gut, and tell it, hey, here's a thing on this side of the wall you should be aware of in case it gets in, okay? So we need microbes, and for most people, when they have allergies, it was a breakdown of microbes that happened first. We get an overgrowth of yeast or a bacterial infection. That can happen in lots of ways. We wipe out the bacteria with an antibiotic, and all of a sudden, people notice I have allergies ever since, that one time I was really sick and took antibiotics. Or we do an antifungal, or a fungus grows up when the antibiotics wipe all the bacteria out, or another bacteria comes and takes place. That's what C. diff is. C. diff is a particular bacteria that can really only grow and reproduce when you really have bad flora before C. diff. It's not very strong. But if all the grass got kind of mowed down, these can plant and flourish. So something destroys the gut flora. Now, what else can destroy the gut flora? Because it's antibiotics, life-saving sometimes, and not always bad. They don't always cause a lot of harm in your body, because your body just bounces back. Thank you for helping me take care of that infection, and bounces back. Well, we now look at the environment. Do we have a lot of garbage around? What does your diet look like? Do you eat a lot of chemicals, or a lot of processed foods, or a lot of sugars or carbs, which break down to sugars? Or on the other side, are you eating strong, good, healing foods? Do you have a lot of nutrient-dense foods in your diet? So all these factors are going to play into what your flora looks like. So we'll just assume the flora got bad somehow. What happens next? Now the flora is not taking care of the cells. Now the cells become leaky. When they say leaky gut, which, by the way, is also your lungs can get leaky and your nasal passages can get leaky. When we say leaky gut, there are literal holes between the cells in your epithelial membranes. They have pulled apart because they don't have the right nutrients, or the gut lining's not taking care of them, and things get through. When things are getting through, they're not analyzed by the cell. They may be proteins that are not broken down. They may be toxins and poisons that normally that wall would keep out, or bacteria or viruses, right? So leaky gut leaves us very vulnerable because we've lost our defense. We need that wall to keep our membrane, to keep us, the inside and outside separate, right? Okay, so as we are looking at long-term healing of the immune system, long-term healing of allergies, we need to heal the leaky gut membranes. And that is reversing everything that happened. We have to create a better environment. We have to bring building blocks in. In my book, Notes from a GAPS Practitioner, I talk a lot about, or I have a chapter about the environment theory, is basically what I call it, and it's symbolizing between a gated community, so very nice manicured, and then something that's very slummy. If we have a slum, what is it? It's not just bad people. Debatable, right? Not all of them. None of them, people in slums are not necessarily bad. You've got bad drug dealers and things like that. So we have slums with bad guys that are just opportunistically taking advantage of what's going on in the situation. And then we have a manicured lawn, a gated community, neighbors who are watching like a hawk if you accidentally leave your trash can out for 12 hours too long, right? this is a high watch situation in which nothing really can happen. There's no opportunities to be opportunistic, to be evil, to do bad. Whereas this environment, we have quite a bit of problems, quite a bit of opportunities, right? So what we want to do to fix this and bring it over here is we need to not just put different people in, right? You can't just take probiotics, but you have to put in food for those building blocks. Sorry, staying with the building metaphor. You need to do building blocks. So we need to repair the sidewalk and asphalt the streets and maybe build a new apartment complex and tear down the old one. We also need to get rid of trash, right? There's a lot of trash in this area. That empty lot is totally full of trash. So we get a couple of dump trucks and we get all that out there. And we install trash cans. We make the detoxification effects work, right? So then we can have a place where people want to be. And we have a thriving urban metropolis now. Just great for all of those young couples who want to start their lives in the city, right? So we have this great place because we cleaned up the environment, then different people wanted to live there. And the drug people moved out because they can't handle it. And everybody's happy that their neighborhood has cleaned up, right? We know that's the way the story works. So that happens in our body. So what can we do here? And this is what I love about GAPS GAPS, stands for Gut and Psychology Syndrome. It is created by Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, and it is both explaining a syndrome of leaky gut. She wrote her book, it's getting close to 20 years ago now, and described what we now call a leaky gut, syndrome or whatever. And then she recommended a dietary healing protocol to help undo all the things that were done wrong, right? So there is a diet piece where you eat nutrient-dense foods, you avoid foods that damage and cause more trash, you feed the good guys, you bring in more good guys in terms of probiotics and fermented foods, and you just eat a lot of the building blocks, help your immune system out, all those different things. So GAPS is a healing protocol. I have lots of other videos about it. I won't talk anymore, and some of you have heard me ad nauseum, but that is what we do, and that's the long-term solution for an allergy, because we're going to talk about the management of allergies in a minute, but it's all because those things got past our barriers. They got past the membranes because they were leaky. If we fix the membranes, they're not leaky anymore. And things don't get in because it's inside the barriers that the immune system reacts 98% of the time. And we'll talk about some different things. But 98% of the time, it's inside the barriers that the immune system is reacting, or it's because the barriers are open and vulnerable that they react outside the barriers, like overproducing mucus or closing the throat. Because there's a signal, something's wrong, your defenses aren't strong enough, increase defenses in the front side as you can. So. All right. I will set GAPS aside, but you can watch me talk about it more in other videos. Okay, so coming to managing allergies. So common allergy symptoms: itchy, runny nose, itchy, runny eyes, mucus production, clearing your throat, right? All that comes from, there's so much with mucus production that comes. Itchy skin, right? I feel like there's one more major one that I'm not thinking of. Some people get itchy mouth, right? So itching, swelling, mucus, and itching, right? That's what allergies look like. So if we have a lot of allergies, a lot of those allergic symptoms, we have a lot of histamine that's being released. I have, again, in another immune video, there is it's a shorter one. There's a two-part about, I don't remember what it's called, I'm sorry. I'll link it when we are done for anyone watching it not live later on. But those two videos talk about the mast cells and how they, can't think of what the word is. They like break apart, and lots of little chemical messengers go to other cells and to other organs to say, trouble, we need help. Okay, so mast cells and other type cells like that will open up. Histamine is one of the things released. There's lots of other things. Cytokines is kind of the word for those messengers. So all these cytokines go. They tell things what to do. The immune system gets on board. All of a sudden, here we are doing things. Well, if those tissues need help, how can help get there? Because we have a barrier in the blood vessels, right? We already talked about that. The barrier in the blood vessels has to open. And so one of the things histamine does is open the barrier to epithelial cell walls, because then the white blood cells, which are bigger, can squeeze through those holes and other nutrients and just things that need to be there to help heal the damage that's happened. By the way, histamine is also released when you twist your ankle or get a bee sting or any damage that happens to our body. This is the process of inflammation that happens. And again, I go more in depth in different immune videos. Histamine is released. So then we have more fluid, more symptoms. So we get bags under our eyes. Well, that's some swelling, right? Your eyes were itchy, and that day that you really itch them, or I've had experience, my biggest identifiable reaction is to the cottonwood tree cotton, right? And I was in dog training at 4-H one year, and they turned on a fan, and a piece of cotton got in my eye. And it swelled shut. I could not see out of my eye. And I rubbed it, of course. It's probably 11 or 12. But it was completely swollen shut. I could not see out of that eye. That's histamine. That's the reaction and response of the body of fluid. Well, why is that fluid coming? It's coming to help. So we need more fluid that's coming to help where we are so that we can be in a place of being okay. Fix it. Inflammation is the body's way to fix things. See other video I did last week. Okay, so inflammation comes. What can we do to help that inflammation? Number one, we can do things to help our histamine be processed faster. Who processes histamine, or what processes histamine? The liver. The liver breaks histamine down when it's not needed anymore to get it out of the circulating system so we don't keep reacting. How do we support the liver, you ask? That's a great question. So the things that we can do. Number one, anytime an organ is suffering, eat the organ of other mammals. So, and chickens. So eat organs, eat liver. Liver is containing, when you eat liver, it contains all the things the liver needs. All the nutrients, vitamins, minerals, all the substances. There's information. There's something called PMGs or protomorphogens. All of these things are in the liver that give your liver help, food, and information. Great. We feed the liver. Now it can do its job more efficiently. We also can help the liver out by not doing things that are hurtful to the liver. So when my allergies come in the spring, right now, I am more careful and I eat things that are a little bit challenging sometimes for me to eat, like sourdough bread from wheat flour. I now can eat that thanks to GAPS and my membranes being sealed, but when I have just a little more of a reaction, I pull that out. I used to also have to avoid dairy, but I am pretty solidly healed of my dairy allergy now, so that one is not something I have to avoid, which is awesome. I also, so you avoid things, fake sense. I have a checklist. You can email office@bewellclinic.net, or, reply on the YouTube comment. Hopefully I will see it. And I have a checklist for detoxifying your house. So you go through, how are my shampoos? How are my, how's my air? How's my water? So you can pull other toxins out because the liver has to manage those toxins. So I can pull things out that give extra workload to the liver so it can deal with all of the histamine, and it doesn't have to deal with histamine plus, other stuff. It has more room and bandwidth to deal with the histamine that I want it to process out. The other thing we can do with that is, well, that goes into a deeper thing. Let me go back to feeding. Let's go to feeding first, and then I'm going to bunny trail deeper into the how to not make your liver work so hard realm. So what specifically is in liver? So liver contains vitamins A, B, C. So ABCs in liver. All of those are really helpful. C is helpful in immune system. So is A, right? So we're sharing things. Well, if your immune system's super active, do you think your liver, which is second line of defense, it probably is going to get shorted a little bit in the supplies that it needs for that caring for itself. So liver is going to help your immune system and your liver if you eat liver. You can also take vitamins A and C and B and other forms, as long as they're food forms. I'm not sending you to eat any synthetic supplements that are not actually food. Your body doesn't recognize and won't largely, if at all, use them. But you can find other food sources of A, B, and C. So those are great things. Listing them off: fermented cod liver oil from green pastures, specifically with the concentrated butter oil, is a great source of A and B and D, which will help the immune system. We can look at like acerola cherry powder, not from ascorbic acid, camu powder, Indian gooseberry. There's one more good one. A lot of berries. I mean, cherries are pretty high in vitamin C. So anything that's high in a vitamin C is good. Liver is pretty high in vitamin C, especially calf liver if you happen to have that available where you are. Then we look at vitamin A, B, C. Oh, Bs. I skipped Bs, sorry. Bs are nutritional yeast, beets, and liver are your three highest sources. Fermented foods also have a lot of B vitamins in them, because one of the things that ferments make or probiotic microbes make is B vitamins. They produce a lot of it often. So anything fermented is going to have B vitamins as well. Okay, ABC. And then we look at minerals. So iron, right? We all probably know that. Iron is in liver. Zinc, there's a lot of zinc in liver when you eat it. And then there's other trace minerals that are important. So those are the big rocks. There are a lot of other things. And again, if you're eating liver, then you are going to eat the things your liver needs. You don't have to worry about remembering what they are. Eat liver to help your liver. That's all you have to remember. How to eat liver. Let's talk about that. There's a few ways. You can make up your favorite liver recipe, like a liver pate. I love liver and onions. I'm fine with, but some people love that, and some other different ways for liver. With that liver, when you cook it, you lose potentially up to 2/3 of the nutrients that you're trying to eat. So you're going to have to eat more liver if you eat it cooked. You can eat it raw in two forms. One is called desiccated liver or desiccated liver powder. Desiccated liver you can get as a powder, like with a scoop, and you put it in or on something, or you can get capsules so you don't taste it. You can make your own capsules, and that is raw dehydrated liver. So you're not losing very much of the nutrition, if anything, for eating liver that way. Or you can do what we call liver shots. Liver shots is raw. You can only do this with beef. Well, you don't do it with chicken livers. So beef liver is the one I work the most with this, because it's easy to get. You get a beef liver, you deep freeze it for 2 weeks, and then you cut it into tiny little pieces that are swallowable. So you basically are making your own raw liver capsules without putting a capsule over it. Freeze them individually on a cookie sheet, and then when they're frozen, you can put them in the same bag to save room in your freezer. And then take 3 or 4 of those a day. You don't have to chew them, you can just swallow them. And that's a great way to get really good, dense nutrition in, and it's pretty cheap. Like we get from Field to Front Door that's here locally, we get liver from them to sell, and it's $3 a pound. A pound of liver will last one person probably about a month. I haven't kept good enough track of how long that lasts, but it's a really nice way to get that dense diet in. You don't have to taste it. It's all great. I recommend that for kids. And then for babies, same thing. It's totally fine to give them deep frozen for 2 weeks. That takes care of the pathogens we're worried about, liver, and then grate it or give them little pieces. Actually, usually babies absolutely love liver and they gobble it up. So eat liver. Great. A, B, C, vitamins are good. D, of course, helps with the immune system. Iron and zinc, which also help with the immune system, especially zinc, right? So the body needs all these nutrients and they work together. Okay, so that's how you feed your liver. Cleansing your liver or supporting, let's go to supporting your liver so that it doesn't have to work so hard. When we have No. Let's talk about what the liver does. What is a detox? Now, the liver is not like a sieve, like you would clean out your pool with, right? It's not that kind of filter. The liver has a lot of blood vessels and things, the blood flows through it, and in those little capillary beds, there are many, many actions that the liver can do. So something comes in, some substance, and the liver's like, ooh, I can deal with that. And it will denature that toxin or break it down or break it into parts so it can be utilized differently. Right? So that's what the liver is doing when it cleanses. It's not sieve collecting toxins, which is why it's okay to eat liver. A lot of people are afraid to eat liver because it's the filter of the body, but it is not that kind of filter. It just has the blood passes through it and it cleans stuff out, and then it puts it in the bile. And then the bile dumps it in the stool when you eat fat, and then you poop it out and it's gone. Those toxins are totally gone. So what can you do to help the liver out? Number one, let's stop putting toxins in. Now, some of those, again, you can get the checklist. Some of those toxins are from our environment. Some we can manage, some we can't. And depending on your budget, you may not be able to buy a Berkey filter that can filter those medications out. If you can afford it, do it. But if you can't, do the best that you can. Get a Brita carbon filter or something like that will take out a large amount of them out. Okay, so we do what we can with this checklist of things to help the liver out. Okay, number two, 90% of the toxins in our body, it's estimated, are from our own gut flora. So our people over here that are slumming it up and doing, taking advantage of the opportunistic places that the disarray of our bodies put us in, those things are creating a ton of toxins. Most microbes that are good for us, well, the microbes that are good for us are helpful. They clean up trash, which, by the way, is yeast. They will produce vitamins and minerals for us. They help like in an enzymatic way to digest our food. So all of these things, we need those good microbes. If we don't have good microbes, not only are good things not happening, but it's like having a bunch of unruly teenagers. Not all teenagers are bad. Unruly teenagers in your house having that stereotypical party when the parents are gone, right? What are you going to come back to? A mess. Things are going to be broken. There's going to be trash everywhere. And that mess is left for the liver to clean up. So as we change our gut flora over, we are changing over the work that our liver is having to do. So hooray, that's helpful. So we need to do that. Again, that's kind of long term, but we can start now, and we can start by not feeding our liver, because the other thing eating toxins does is it encourages this crowd. And then this crowd will then, sorry, my dog is distracting me. This crowd will then produce even more toxins because they got what they wanted. The pizza guy came, and now there's more trash. So that's how it's working. Liver, eat liver. Number two, get rid of toxins that you can. Number three, change your gut flora over. Number four, eat fat, please. Please eat fat. There's two things that we need fat for in this liver model. Number one, the liver needs a lot of saturated fat to do some stuff. Well, there's three things. Number two, the liver needs fat to help manage blood sugar. So the liver is in a large part responsible for glucose storage, so blood sugar. If you eat a whole bunch of sugar or carbohydrates with no fat to temper that spike, the liver has to work really fast and really hard to store all of that sugar. If you eat fat, it will actually level out the flow of that sugar spike, and the liver won't have to work so hard and so fast. The other thing that we can do is, lost my train of thought. Number one, now you can hear my dog. Wow, totally gone. I'm sorry, everyone. Oh, eat fat. Why are we eating fat? The two things I already said, which can't come to mind at the moment, but the third and last thing, major thing, is fat. Remember when I said bile, which is what the liver put the toxins in? That fat, when you eat it, the bile gets out. The bile goes to help digest that fat, and when it goes to help digest the fat, it gets to leave the body. Sweet. It is good. We want toxin-filled bile to leave the body. We also want toxin-filled bile to leave the body often, because if you have a pool of bile and toxins keep coming in, instead of getting rid of it and getting fresh bile, what is more stagnant, a pond or a river, right? So if we have a pretty constant flow of bile, we are going to have less toxins in it, and it doesn't get sludgy. But our bile can get very sludgy if we don't eat enough fat. And then our backup of that sludgy bile, number one, it puts you at risk for gallstones and gallbladder issues. Number two, the liver can't push it out quite so much because the sludginess is sitting in the liver, in the bile, all the bile capillaries that are trying to go into the bile duct, that are trying to go into the gallbladder, to leave in the stool. So the whole system's not working well if you're not eating enough fat. Good news, fat also helps your immune system, so it's a twofer there. Another twofer is probiotics. So probiotic bodies will help reduce the toxins from your gut, but probiotics are also going to bind toxins. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second. Any questions so far? And then we're going to talk about probiotic role. Okay, type it in if it takes you a second. I will jump back to it. So the other twofer is a probiotics. Probiotics, well, and some are threefers, which is really great. So number one, we start changing our gut flora. We're making this transition. Number two, one of the roles of good microbes or probiotics is actually to bind toxins. So our good flora helps our body out partly by binding to toxins when they come, and they will break them apart or digest them, just like what's happening in your liver, or they will bind to them until they go out in the stool. So they keep it from entering the body and really do a lot of protecting for us. So that is what our probiotics do, our microbes do, excuse me. So if we are eating microbes with our food or on a regular basis, we actually can get that toxin binding capacity wherever that is happening. So a lot of toxins are in our gut lining, so eating probiotics will help that. But we also have toxins in our nose and our lungs. You can't really get probiotics down to your lungs, but you can get it in your nose and your mouth. So that's something that's very helpful to do as well. We can put a little probiotic powder, for example, or maybe a little milk kefir or some yogurt, obviously without sugar, some sour cream. Put those things in our nostrils. We can put it on our mouth. If you have itchy ears, you can put a tiny bit, maybe of oil. The milk products might be a little weird, but maybe a little coconut oil or olive oil with some probiotic powder mixed in from a capsule without prebiotics, just probiotics. So we have all those different things. We can put them in the different topical places and areas that we're having symptoms. You also can put them in your eyes, right? If you have itchy and dry eyes, the same thing is happening. There is itchiness because there's irritation of cells from toxins, and those toxins could be irritants of allergies, right? Toxins just means not helpful to the body. It doesn't have to be a chemical. It just not helpful to the body. So toxins are irritating the eyes, and we want to help that out. So probiotics will bind to toxins. The way for your eyes, I want to take a minute to talk about that carefully, because in general, I don't recommend putting anything inside your eye orbit, which is the bone here to here, okay? Inside your eye orbit, in general, we don't put things. Never essential oils, and just not stuff. Never makeup. You don't want to put chemicals or anything inside the eye. I know that women, we do, but that's just better not to. Number two, how can we help? So we can do some little natural coconut oil, tallow, lard, something that's very, very benign of an oil, and we can put some probiotic powder in it. We also could do sour cream or yogurt or milk kefir again, or milk kefir, as some people say. I often say, it's properly pronounced kefir. I feel weird saying it. So we put that here. and you could just get a little bit. You also could put it down here because oil will travel up to 4 inches. So if you put it on your skin here even, that will help. Okay, so probiotic topical application wherever you're having symptoms. That includes down under, that includes skin, down under, that includes skin patches, that includes nose, mouth, ears, face, etc. Okay. We also can, okay, sorry, that is a whole category of things. Feed the liver, eat fat, support the liver. I want to come back to cleaning the liver out, but we got on the topic of probiotics. Sorry, I am a little less following my outline right now. I hope you're sticking with me. Okay, doing the probiotics everywhere topically and internally. Then we have to worry about die-off. Die-off is when the good and bad bacteria fight, and there's collateral damage there. With die-off, it's good. It means that there's movement of bodies, microbes that need to happen, but it's not very comfortable. Sometimes, and we do not have to go fast to be uncomfortable. It, by the way, is essentially a histamine reaction, right? It's the same kind of thing. Okay, so we have probiotic fight. We have probiotics that are helping to control the toxins. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear my dog, but he is distracting me. Probiotics help bind toxins. Probiotics help with the gut flora overall, and those are going to be helpful. I said there's a 3 for sometimes. So there are some probiotics that have vitamin C in them. Hooray for that. The biggest one is cabbage. Cabbage has a lot of vitamin C, and when we make a probiotic food of it, like sauerkraut, we actually will have a 20 to 50 times increase in the bioavailable vitamin C. Sorry. Padfoot, come. I'm not letting you outside. Sorry, everyone. So 20 to 50-fold increase in the bioavailable vitamin C. That's great. So when you eat sauerkraut, which is what I use in most part to manage my allergies, when you eat sauerkraut, you are getting vitamin C, you are getting probiotics, and ferments, and you are getting that double-fold ferment. You're getting toxin help, and you're getting gut flora help. And that's why sauerkraut actually works really well as a management. So it's short-term and long-term. Long-term, it's going to help your gut flora, but short-term, it actually will help you right now. It will help you bind toxins. Now, you have to be careful of die-off because that will increase your histamine. But if you are good with sauerkraut and you can eat it, I eat between a quarter cup to a whole cup a day because I found that will be helpful to how much I need to eat to manage all of those symptoms. And for me, for the most part, the sauerkraut is helpful. Okay. Other things that can specifically help managing allergies. Number 1, obviously, if you're allergic to something, try to avoid it, or just environmentally control. Now, that doesn't always work, and again, that's not long term. I don't love talking about that because the biggest thing I want to talk about is how do we fix it. But not being in a place where we can get exposed to that. So when the cotton was really flying, I do limit my exposure to the outside air. I don't open my windows at night, things like that. Sometimes I will run an air purifier if I happen to be in a place where that works. Humidifying the air is helpful, all those different things. Other things that can be really helpful are Antranex. Antranex is a supplement distilled by a standard process, get through a healthcare provider. It helps open the distal portal vein, so the vein that leaves the liver. It opens that up so the blood flow goes a little bit faster, so we process things a little bit quicker. It is an extract of the liver, the specific part of the liver. Starts with a Y. I can't remember what it is right now. And it helps it's the part that helps to detoxify or break down histamine. So you're basically taking concentrated special histamine support for your liver, which is really helpful. It does lower your blood pressure potentially, so you just want to be aware of that. And if you have low blood pressure, as I do, I take it, but I just don't stand up fast, and it honestly doesn't bother me. Blood pressure can be low for many reasons. Mine is more related to adrenals and minerals instead of liver. Ooh, dizziness, that's another symptom. Dizziness is usually fluid in the ears, and actually putting probiotics into your ears, like I was just describing, can really help balance that fluid. Also, digestion here under the ear to help the eustachian tubes drain can be very helpful as well. I'm going to stop and think if I have any big picture stuff. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of flow through the management things as I think of them in no particular order. Maybe we'll go top down, but then I'll forget things. Okay. So, itchy skin, itchy nose. This is going to be, again, probiotics topically in your nostrils at night. You can put probiotics in your mouth before you go to bed, especially, or after meals when your mouth is going to be empty for a while. That can be a really nice time to put in probiotics. So open up a capsule or half a capsule of some probiotic in the on the tongue. Paint your teeth with it. You're going to swallow it through the night, but a lot of it will stay here and start populating your flora, which will help your membranes, right? That's the whole point, is getting the membrane strong again, right here. Good question. What do you say is helpful for eustachian tubes? So putting probiotics in your ear, and then digestion, which is the doTERRA essential oil mixture. We usually do it for digestive symptoms, but it has properties that help open up things, and so it's very good to open the eustachian tubes anytime there's sinus pressure, whether it's from a virus or from an allergy or from an ear infection for kids. All right. Nose. So nose, mouth, topically. Ears, you can topically do. Skin in general. Skin in general, itchiness, as you can see I have, because I've done a few different things. Part of that is because I am sitting in front of a camera. I've noticed I've been itching more when I'm sitting and doing these lives. A lot of us are wearing masks at least some of the times, like I'm wearing when I have patients, and my face is itchy from having something touching it, and chemicals in the masks too. So what can we do with that? Always, it's a membrane, right? Skin is a membrane, so we can topically apply things to that membrane. This is in form of tallow. It's really good. The skin really likes tallow. Lamb tallow or beef tallow, which are rendered fat. Honey. No. We can have, just realized he wanted water, so I guess I will give him mine. So beef or lamb tallow is very helpful. We can mix probiotic into that, which is very helpful. Do a BioCult or a Gut Pro or any other probiotic you have that doesn't have prebiotic. The reason I don't want you to put prebiotic in is because prebiotics they feed whatever flora is there. And if your skin flora is already struggling, especially if you have skin issues, like rashes or eczema, you don't want to put a probiotic there to feed whatever is there. We want to just do prebiotics and fat, which will help soothe the skin, help the skin to repair. Vitamin E and zinc, those are also helpful for skin repair. So all these different things will help, and you can coat your body with them wherever you have problem spots. The other thing that is helpful on the seemingly opposite side would be to tonify with an acid, like apple cider vinegar. So apple cider vinegar, very helpful because it makes the skin more acidic and puts that acidic barrier that our skin needs to have good flora to live there, which will then create our skin to be healthy. So acidic barrier, our skin likes to be a pH of 3 or 4 all the time. That helps kill bacteria on contact. It's one of the reasons why it is, I believe, often better to, like currently in our current situation, there's a good argument that it would be better to allow to not wear gloves, to have your skin, because it will kill on contact. That if you have an acidic skin, things will die when they touch your skin. We also have, if you have a good solid barrier, it keeps things out. So then we just wash them. There's nothing wrong with gloves, except you have warm, moist environment inside the gloves. And most people aren't trained with gloves. And so they touch things and touch themselves just like if they had no gloves. But the plastic is going to be a longer living surface for that bacteria and where the skin would potentially kill it, right? So my 2 cents, I won't go much more into that, but that is the skin. So we want the skin to be slightly acidic. That allows good bacteria to be there. That allows us to maintain a proper wall and membrane there. Same thing for the gut, by the way. That is the other thing that probiotics do. They acidify the gut because lactic acid is produced, not milk, not lactose, but lactic acid is produced when we have good flora, because our body in general works better. There's a few exceptions, but in general works better when it's slightly acidic. So our blood is neutral pH, a little bit on the basic side, but everything else in our body for the most part is actually acidic. Our immune system works best when we're acidic, and only when we're acidic often. So because of that, we do want to acidify the inside as well as the outside. How do you acidify the inside? Well, apple cider vinegar is a great way to do that. Any ferments are going to acidify. And acidification is like, if you have all the pieces in place, I'm trying to think of a game. What came to mind is the little fish, in that game where you tried to fish that your grandma had, at least my grandma had. And there's all the pieces. You have your fishing rod, all the fish are in place, the game's set up, but then you have to turn it on. And that turning on happens when you acidify the immune system. There's been times with both illnesses and allergies that I'll do all the right things and nothing is working. And then I remember, acidify. And I will do something like a shot of apple cider vinegar, or there's a supplement called Cal-Amo, Cal-Amo, that Standard Process sells. So I will do that, and it's like the machine turns on, right? The fish start spinning. You can start pulling them out. Like everything starts working. So acidifying the immune system is really important. And then we have the final thing. What is mucus production? So mucus production is often the most annoying, right? Why is the mucus being produced? The mucus is mostly being produced because the barriers to your epithelial cells are open. So the body has to overproduce the mucus to protect it. So number one, we need to close those barriers. Number two, we can put good microbes in place, like with probiotic foods, or even just probiotics topically in different places that can really help out to stop that barrier so the body doesn't feel like it needs to produce mucus. And I have seen this lots of times with myself and lots of my patients, kids and adults, that when you start doing a topical overnight application of some probiotic in your mouth, paint it around your teeth, take a little bit, stick it up your nose, go to sleep. The nights you do that, or the nights people do that, they don't have a stuffy nose when they wake up, and the nights they forget, they do have a stuffy nose. Okay, so that can be really helpful. All right, the final category would be what foods help to heal that membrane, right? And we kind of talked about that, but just as a reminder, vitamin C, collagen are really important. Cholesterol is really important. So we need to eat saturated fat and meat stock, fermented foods, and liver. So in summary of how we can help our immune system, and I'm sorry that it's getting dark. In summary of how we can help our immune system, we can eat saturated fat because that provides food for our immune system. It provides food for our liver. It helps our liver get rid of bile because the bile is moving. It helps to build up our cells. And it also helps with all our hormones. So if we're overproducing cortisol, for example, the rest of our hormones may suffer. So it's just going to help you be more hormonally balanced, less irritated and angry. So that's good. So that's just fat. Number two, meat stock. What does meat stock give us? It's collagen and amino acids broken up from the simmering process of making stock, put into the water so you can absorb it and use the building blocks really quick. So we have those two things, stock and fat. Number 3, probiotic foods. That's going to give you toxin binding, acidifying, repopulating your gut flora activity, and potentially vitamin C, depending on which one it is, like sauerkraut or any vegetable. So anything that's fermented increases bioavailability of whatever nutrients are in there. So this is just going to be a huge powerhouse of things, which are, by the way, the 3 pillars of GAPS, because GAPS deals a lot with allergies, so it makes sense. But they are going to help treat right away. Okay, then more faster term relief. I have a stuffy nose or runny nose right now. My eyes are itching like crazy. We can put topical applications of fat and probiotics on or in different holes and such. So that's going to help. Acidify the skin. I'm running out of fingers. Acidify the skin, acidify the inside. That's going to be helpful as well. And then we look at like extras, right? So supplements, basically. Cod liver oil kind of goes in the cholesterol category, but you could consider that a supplement. Liver in some way goes into the food category, but you could consider that a supplement. Antranex, which is just a part of the liver. Cal-ammo, it would be acidification, or you could use shots of apple cider vinegar. It would be totally fine. Just don't leave the acid on your teeth, right? You can do it. You don't have to drink it through a straw. Just don't leave acid on your teeth for a long time. Eat or drink or rinse or brush or something. Okay. Acidifying this. So if we acidify the situation, that is less toxic, we've eaten good food, and we have fed our liver, and now we have good probiotics. Those things are going to make a huge difference. Finally, we look at herbals and essential oils. So herbals and essential oils are, let me turn this light on. Voila. Herbals and essential oils are messengers that create a signal to tell your body what to do. So if you take an herbal or essential oil and you don't have the building blocks or the nutrition to do the things that we just talked about, that essential oil could be pounding and it's only going to do so much. Lavender is an antihistamine. Lavender doesn't break up histamine itself. The liver still has to do that, right? It helps message different things so we become in a different pathway. But lavender doesn't go to the histamine molecule and break it up. Unless I'm wrong and someone can correct me, but I've never seen that. That's not what it does. What it does is it pushes the body, it tells the hormone system and the liver and all these things like, hey, calm down, we're okay. Albizia complex is an herb. Well, the complex is from standard process, but albizia is an herb. And skullcap, I think, is in there. There's 4 in there. I just looked them up the other day. Probably not safe during nursing and pregnancy. That's why I looked them up. Albizia complex or albizia and skullcap, these different herbs help to process histamine, tell the cells, calm down, the histamine's okay. Right? So those can be really helpful. Essential oils that can help. Frankincense can be helpful. That kind of helps pretty much everything. Lavender can be really helpful. Again, specific symptoms can be helpful. Then we can get detox baths or sunbathing or grounding or oil pulling, because those help pull toxins out so your liver doesn't have to do all the work. Again, I talk a lot about that in the immune system video about how do we get toxins out, right? How do we get... The short summary would be everything from a bacterial infection to an allergy. The reason you get symptoms is because something is happening that's hurting cells. And then the immune system comes in with inflammation and stops that action. So if we can get the things out of our body through like an Epsom salt detox bath that are hurting our cells, then there's less things to hurt cells, which means we have less inflammation that has to happen, right? So anything we do to support, even unrelated to our allergy to hayweed, that's going to help the whole body focus and function overall. Okay. Let me see. Those are my main ones. What do you guys think? How was that? It's question time. What are some things that you wish I covered, or a specific symptom that you want me to kind of explain what's happening? I tried to cover everything I could think of in like specific symptoms and try to walk through so you know what it is. So I'll wait for you guys to say anything if there is any, but the biggest thing would be my goal, and why I teach the way I do, is I want you to know what's happening so you're able to make decisions about what to do based on the group of knowledge you have obtained, as opposed to you have to come to me every time something happens so I can tell you what to do, but the knowledge of what's happening is in my head. I don't want that knowledge. I want you to have that knowledge. So thanks, Ellen. I'll get that in just a second. So I don't want that knowledge. I want you to have that knowledge. So I teach in a big story to say, here's what's happening. And then if symptoms are happening, and this is how I work with me, I go, okay, I have a runny nose today. Okay, what do I do? Have I had sauerkraut today yet? I probably could take a couple Antranex, especially if I get really itchy here. I'll take a couple Antranex just to help clear it up really fast. I chew them because then they work really well. They taste like really gross liver, but it works really great. I'll do lavender under my tongue. A drop of lavender under my tongue is very helpful. Lemon, by the way, these are therapeutic. I obviously use doTERRA. There are other therapeutic brands that are fine. Lemon essential oil I put right on the bridge of my nose occasionally. And that really helps to stop the mucus. Peppermint can be helpful too. Where was I going off of that? So this is what I do when things are happening. Or I'll think, oh, I'm a little bit stressed, or I woke up stuffy today, so I'm definitely not going to have sourdough, or it's the season, right? So, or I need to take a detox bath. So right now in the spring, I take detox baths pretty much every night. I can skip about one every week. If I skip more than one, I start getting headaches or ringing in my ears or other symptoms of just that toxin buildup. So that is what my hope is for you, is to understand, and hopefully that was clear enough in my non-outline following. Hopefully that was clear enough of getting the picture of what to do. So look at what your symptoms are. What can you control? What could you control that's outside the bucket? That's what we often forget. You need to not be petting your cats for a few days if your other allergies are out of control. The other thing, okay, Ellen, let me answer your question, and thank you, guys. I'm so happy to teach. If you want, you can give the video a like just to put it into the algorithm of YouTube a little bit higher so more people can see this, which is really awesome. Because this will go and publish on our page and be public for people to watch later. Probiotics that I like BioCult, which is BIO-KULT, just the original. Thanks, guys. Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride, the GAPS lady, she formulated the original formula. So it's it's GAPS legal, which means there's no prebiotics in it. There aren't any extra flora, because some probiotics can have a lot of extra flora that are not really helpful to our body necessarily. Just Thrive is one that a lot of people use. I think it's a good one. I don't use it. I don't really use it yet. Gut Pro by Corganics is good. For babies, I like Life Start by Natron. I used to like the Garden of Life ones okay, but Nestle has bought them, and I'm not a fan. So I don't trust their formulation. And I've started to hear, I've been waiting, but I've started to hear people go, oh, that's why a couple of years ago, they were bought 3 or so years ago, and maybe a year ago, people who took that multivitamin, all of a sudden, it just didn't seem to work as well. So I think they have changed their formulations, even though they're not obviously publishing those. So probably one to steer clear of. There are lots of good ones. You just want lactobacilli, bifidobacteria. Some spores and like soil bacteria are good, but you don't want the one that says we have the most of anyone, because a lot of those aren't actually probiotics that our own body cares about. So you're spending a lot of money, or you're complicating the system of your ecosystem. So lacto and bifidos, or if you're really low in one, some people do specific probiotic therapy. Lactic acid yeast is one that Standard Process has. It's very acidifying. It's a simple one, but it's acidifying. And then I just love using fermented foods. Every vegetable, if you wild ferment it, meaning just salt water, every vegetable has the potential to grow a different bacteria type than a different vegetable type. So if you have multiple vegetables, fermented vegetables in your diet that are wild fermented, preferably that you make at home because they're way stronger. Those are going to be huge as well. Okay, well, I feel like there's something else I was going to say, but now I don't remember. Great. Thanks for coming. We do education for free, but yes, it is for free. Also, there's a donate button on our website. I'll put it in the link once I publish this live, or you can go to bewellclinic.net/events. And so bewellclinic.net/events will take you any of the donate buttons. They all go to the same page. So it's just a Squarespace thing. So if you want us to help us keep providing education to people, we appreciate you donating something there, but no pressure. We are going to be taken care of. Okay, ringing in the ears, an allergy symptom. It definitely can be. Ringing in the ears is generally from one of three things. It can be a fluid in the ears. So again, topical probiotic is going to help with that. And I would do that, especially if you're a little warbly or off balance or head full, that feeling. It can be a toxin overwhelm. That's what it is for me. So when I used to have tinnitus, pretty constantly, pretty low, but pretty constantly for a few years. And when I got my liver down with diet and enemas, and when my toxin load is not as high anymore, that's there. If I skip a few days of detox baths, like I said, I will start getting ringing in my ears again. If for some reason my body's just overwhelmed, I'll get ringing. I will do an enema, which flushes tons of toxins out really fast, and my ringing will be gone. By the time I'm halfway done with the enema, or as soon as I'm over, done with the different flushes. So that can be it. And then it can be related to adrenal dysfunction, not enough adrenal activity, mineral deficiency, not enough vitamin C. So again, vitamin C comes in handy so many places. Is your adrenal stress because of your allergies? And that's probably, tiredness. Let's talk about that too. Sorry. So the adrenal stress may be come in because we're using the fat-soluble vitamins and we're using the vitamin C elsewhere. So the adrenals aren't getting it, which could be part of our fatigue that comes with the allergies. Also, it's just a lot of work. Just think about when you're sick, you're really tired, right? The body's working really hard. So allergies is a form of being sick, if you will. It's the immune system having to work on something. And so just because you're not running a marathon or working out or lifting weights doesn't mean your body doesn't do lots of jobs. And when there's extra work on its plate, it will use extra energy, and you will not have that energy available to you. So as we get that reaction down, then your energy pops up because of that. The other thing I want to mention, and I'm not sure how it works, but calcium, specifically calcium lactate, helps a lot with allergies. I will chew 2 or 3 of them. You can also swallow them. They're just more effective if you chew them. I will chew 2 or 3 of them, maybe with a couple Antronex, and that, man, right this year is like a magic pill for me. It's been really great. Calcium is very needed in the immune system. Again, I talk more about that in another class, but it does help. I'm just not sure how it helps necessarily with the inflammation. I'm very familiar how it helps with infection, but it helps the immune system a lot, calcium does. So I like calcium lactate, and I'll take a few a day for that. You also can go, just as a little tidbit on the end, there are things like biofeedback that a lot of naturopaths will use. There's one in Fort Collins here that I work with. He has a biofeedback machine, and what it does is it sends vibrational tests into your body to see what vibrational frequencies. So everything has a vibrational frequency. My phone does, my dog does, your hair cells do, the bridge does, the tree does, the grass does. Everything vibrates at a certain frequency. And so you can send that frequency through the body and then see the response. And if the response is kind of off, like too strong, then that's something your body is reacting to. So these machines can show what we're reacting to. what our body is particularly sensitive to. And then you send another signal, sometimes accompanied with laser on certain points, but you send another signal that tells your body, like, these ones are okay. So it actually can calm your body down on things it's kind of hyper reacting to and is already freaked out about. So that's a short-term way. Sometimes it's pretty permanent. Sometimes it's pretty temporary for people. Again, the main thing we need to do is get the immune system to stop freaking out too much, overly freaking out. And that is the whole rebalancing. The borders are up. It's going to be okay. And then the immune system can let down its guard. But there are ways that we can manage it, like in the interim, or if for some reason it just got really intensely interested in the ragweed that just showed up and you just can't even function, because I've been there. So biofeedback is what I do when it's really overwhelming like that, to just rebalance myself to the environment and let my body know it's okay. So it's pretty cool using those different vibrational frequency things. I don't do it, but there are people that do it, so I want to mention it. Awesome. Thanks for hanging with me. Any other questions? I hope that you learned a lot. Feel free to type them, because I know it takes a minute to type. I hope that you learned a lot. I love teaching, and glad you guys are here to hear me teach. Thanks for being patient on waiting a few minutes for me to get on. We do classes pretty much every Tuesday. This Saturday, sometimes we do Saturday ones. So this Saturday we're going to do a cook with me in my kitchen. And we are going to do, I think it's this Saturday. It will be in the live events. I'm going to do meat stock and rendering some animal fat, and potentially have some sauerkraut to chop up or something. But my main goal is I want to show some basic cooking techniques that we've lost. A lot of people haven't gotten taught, and just do it in a kitchen so that we have it. So good. I am glad. You are so welcome. Glad you are here. Okay, so we have that. I'm going to do a soup one on the 28th. How to make soup without a recipe. And next week is dogs, pets, helping pets through transition. So using foods and essential oils and just being aware of some body language. I've done a lot of learning with my dog because he is a very independent dog. So I've had to be very aware of what my body language is saying and telling him, and how to communicate in a dog way, if you will, things that I want to communicate. So I'm really excited to share all of that next week. Okay, well, thank you all for being on and for chatting. I love seeing some chat happening. Helps me talk to the camera alone. And I hope that you guys all stay well and that this works. Let me know in the comments if something isn't working, or you can email office at Be Well Clinic, of course. I can try to help out to clarify something. This is just general medical advice, obviously not specifically for you, and is educational purposes only, and all the other things I should probably say when I'm doing these videos. But this is how your body works. So I hope that it helps and serves you to get to know your body and support it better. All right. Have a good night, everyone.